welcome to another episode of the NBA Outlet Preview Series presented by OTGBasketball.com. Follow OTG on Twitter at OTGBasketball. I'm Nick Fay. With me as always, Harris Wichard. How you doing, Harris?
Pretty good, Nick. Really excited again to continue our preview series, getting even closer to the NBA season, which, as me and you both know, is our favorite time. It's my favorite time of the year. I don't know if I could speak for you on this, but October, November feels like Christmas Day for me to get this thing rolling. Now we're at team number 12, the Utah Jazz.
Yeah, number 12, Jazz. This is a team that I've been kind of keeping my eye on. I think after they made that trade 2 years ago at the deadline, they really picked it up. They play some great defense. They have a ton of great young players. I'm pretty happy with this number 12 ranking. What about you?
Yeah, this is a playoff team this year, and they almost did it last year. If the Rockets would have lost that, the thing that gets lost in that Kobe 61-point game is that the Jazz would have had to play for a playoff spot if the Rockets had lost that last game. So this is a team I would have much rather have seen match up against the Warriors in that 8 slot than the Rockets gave them no chance, no matchup. And I think the Jazz could have gotten them to 6 because of their defense. So this is a dangerous Jazz team. Now we know, and I agree with the writers on this ranking, this team could go as high as 6 in the West this year. And it's unfortunate that Hayward ended up breaking his finger in practice. But he's out another 6 to 8 weeks. But this is a team that now with Favors and Exum's a guy I like. Diaw they added. They added your guy Joe Johnson from the Nets who will provide some offense for them. And it's going to be a team that stifles in the half-court defense. They got a lot of size. I mean, their smallest player is 6'1". They have a few 6'3" guys, but a lot of 6'9", 6'8", 6'10". You go Bear in the middle at 7'1". So it's going to be a tough team to score on. They play tough at home. This is a Jazz team that might take that next step and could possibly win 50 games.
So this team's going to get back some talented guys, but you touched on it. Let's talk about the additions they made. You know, they have the young talent we've mentioned, but they added some veterans. They made a trade for Boris Diaw. They traded for George Hill. They picked up Joe Johnson. So some veterans that can give this team some experience, some playoff experience, kind of get the ship going in the right direction.
Yeah, definitely. I like the Joe J pickup. I was never high on him as far as can he play 35 minutes on a championship team? I'm not sure. But could he give you 25 solid minutes as an offensive guy and giving you big shots? And as you mentioned, he's clutch. They call him cool. Don't they call him Cool Joe or something of that name?
Joe Cool. KG calls him Joe Jesus.
Yeah. Who's calls him that? KD?
KG.
Yeah. Oh, KG. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, he's got that clutch gene, as Skip Bayless likes to talk about so much, that LeBron doesn't have, he says, but he has it. Joe Johnson has it in the boatload. So that's a nice addition for them. Diaw is a very smart basketball player. A lot of the coaches, I was watching, what's the show on NBA TV? I want to say Open Court, where they had a bunch of coaches sit down and they talked about who are the smartest players that you've ever coached. And a lot of them were touching on Diaw and Nash and Kidd. And Diaw has a very good idea of what he's supposed to do on the floor. And he'll give their offense a lot of flow and movement. He plays with a lot of confidence on the offensive end. And I think if they gave him some minutes and looks this year, that's going to really benefit them. He's been on the championship Spurs teams. He was on that Spurs team that won a title in 2014 against the Heat. He went to the end 13 when they went to the finals. And he's played minutes, 22, 25, 24, 18. He'll play minutes on this Jazz team. I think it's an excellent pickup for Utah.
Boris Diaw, he can teach, Trey Lyles, Derek Favors, and different things. Like you said, he's a really intelligent basketball player. I actually watch the same show as you. So I think that definitely helps. And I like Joe Johnson. I think he gives him a nice solid score on the bench, somebody who can take that last shot for you. But there's plenty of depth on this team, which is really going to help them, especially if somebody gets banged up like they have the last few seasons.
And Gordon Hayward out too.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like they're going to be able to deal with injuries just because they have a lot of depth on this team.
Yeah, without question. And, Diaw's never been a guy that's going to give you 25 a night. But if you look at his rebounding, it's like 4 or 5. His assists are high for a guy his size at almost 4. So he gives you. He's like a slower version of Nicholas Batum, and if he's wide open, he's wide open from 3. He can knock that down too. He's a smart basketball player, and he's going to give them good minutes. And another veteran. This team is now mixed in. I like this roster a lot. I mean, they've mixed in now younger pieces with some veteran guys that are going to help those younger pieces and players.
Yeah, and they picked up George Hill, which also is a nice move. It gives them a solid veteran point guard, someone that kind of steady the ship because they have some good players at the other positions. They got Rudy Gobert, Derek Favors, Hayward when he's healthy, and Rodney Hood. That's a good starting lineup, and they have George Hill to kind of even that out. And he fits the bill. He plays defense. And, there's still enough. They'll probably give him like 30-plus minutes a night, and like Exum gets some minutes at point guard too. So it's a good situation there. Departure.
Yeah, probably the best team we've spoke about so far. I mean,
Yeah.
not just saying that because it is the ranking, but this is a legitimate team that if things go well, really well, there's no reason why they couldn't be in the position the Blazers were in last year, finding themselves in the semifinals against the Warriors and have that opportunity to win a couple games at home. So this is a team to definitely look out for, and a team we've been speaking about for a while. And when you have Favors and Gobert in the middle like that and you add some perimeter talent around them, it's unfortunate the Hayward injury happened because if he's their highest paid and best player, but if Hayward was there and healthy, this is a team that could get off to like a really good start.
I'm really excited to see what they do when they make it to the postseason because, all these guys, a lot of them are hungry. They've never been there before. So
we've spoke about this team now for a while. This is a team that, we've used to take all their guys in FanDuel, and in 2015 when we first started our podcast, we both have taken a liking to this team.
Exactly. Very true. But let's talk departures. They lost Trevor Booker. He signed with my Nets. I think it made sense for them because they have Trey Lyles. They got DL.
He's a good player.
Yeah, he's a good player. And, they didn't really have space for him. So that made sense. Trey Burke, he just never really worked out in Utah. Yeah. He had the opportunity to, get big minutes at point guard. Now he's in Washington. Maybe a change of scenery will help him out. And they also got rid of
Trey never.
I'll go ahead, Harris.
Yeah, Trey never got going in Utah. He just didn't. It didn't work. Exum is like a 6'6" point guard, but who's their starting point guard day one?
It's going to be George Hill.
It's going to be George Hill. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. They also got rid of Tibor Plyas, if I'm not mistaken. That's how you say his name. He was an international big they picked up. I think he played a little bit, but nothing too crazy.
Yeah, I mean, without Hayward now, and I'm looking at Joe Johnson probably won't start. Could you give me their day one starting lineup?
I would probably go George Hill, probably, I guess, Alec Burks, Rodney Hood, Derek Favors, Rudy Gobert.
Hood's a good piece too.
Rodney Hood's probably one of my favorite players in the league.
Yeah, he's a good piece. 6'8", 206 from Duke. He's an up and coming player. He's gonna get.
He had some huge games last year when they were really banged up. He was getting a ton of minutes and a ton of shots, and he came through.
In what part, like the latter of the season?
It was probably close to the end of the season, maybe like mid to end. Like they had a lot of injuries, and there was points where he was just like he literally put up 30 points a few times. I was picking him up in FanDuel.
Yeah, here's the best stretch of his season. We're talking like late, because he did it against the Nets a little bit, but late January, they were 3-1. He played 30, 34, 31, 37 minutes with 22, 24, and 23 points. Think about this. He was 8 of 16. This is an amazing stat. In 3 straight games, he was 8 of 16 from the field in 3 straight games.
Wow, 50%. Can't beat that.
And then oh my goodness. And then 7 of 16 in the next game, 9 of 18, 9 of 19. He had an amazing stretch. You're right.
Yeah, no, see, and he plays the other side of the ball too. He plays D. He's a long, athletic guy. So,
they were winning these games. They got very hot, this team.
I think it was Fred Hoiberg last year. He said he didn't know if Hood and Hayward were one of the top wing combinations in the league. You know what I mean? Like having both those guys, they both have pretty good all-around games. Things are looking good in Utah. But on to the next question. Obviously, I know what you're going to say, but better or worse?
Better, yeah, better. This is a team that, like the Pistons, they have something in the works here. They got young talent, and this is one of the few rankings that I'll probably say the writers were wrong, and this is, to me, a top 10 team in the league this year.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I think I had them in my top 10. I just love we also had the rankings out before the Hayward injury.
Right.
But the depth on this team, and I think they develop a lot each year internally. They have good coaching over there.
I really like the coach a lot, Quinn Snyder. I think he's got them going in the right direction.
Yeah, he's done some nice things here. I think he's part of the Spurs coaching tree, if I'm not mistaken. So, they're doing good stuff there. Final prediction for this team.
48 and 34 and the 5th spot in the Western Conference playoffs. 5th.
Yeah, I like that. I think they're maybe a touch under 50 wins. They get one of those mid seeds at 6-5. Highest probably is 4 for me. And then I probably am seeing a second round knockout. I think they get past the first round.
The Blazers won 44 and were the 5th seed last year in the West.
Wow.
So now I have the top 4 seeds in the West still reserved to the Clippers, Thunder, Spurs, and Warriors. I still think that's going to happen.
Yeah, so, unless an injury.
Yeah, so the 5, 6, 7, 8 is wide open, and the Blazers could sneak in, the Jazz could sneak in, the Timberwolves could probably sneak up there. The Rockets, to me, are probably going to be right, like we said, are going to be there. The Grizzlies, we don't know yet. There's a lot unknown, and there's a lot of teams that, to me, the Suns, Lakers, Nuggets, Pelicans, we spoke about the Kings and stuff. Those teams are probably not going to be able to make that push. We spoke about the possibility of those guys, and if you look across our predictions, there might be some inconsistency in the fact that we think that 4 teams might be the 8th seed. We're just saying that in best case scenario, those teams could be the 8th seed. But I'm not quite sure where the 6, 7, 8 will be. But I'm pretty positive in the fact that the Jazz will be in that 5, 6, 7 mix.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's just the next step for them. They've dealt with injuries, and they still had pretty successful seasons. So going forward, this is a good team. They're only getting better. But I already know the answer to this question too. But what are you going to watch the Jazz on League Pass?
Yes, absolutely. I like this team a lot. They defend, and they make the NBA a little bit more serious, because a lot of people don't like when teams go up and down. And the Warriors averaged 114 last year, gave up 104. This is a Jazz team that gave up 96 points a game last year. So they have some long, athletic wings that are going to be trouble for people, especially with Gobert in the middle. And outside of the Spurs, by far the best defensive team in the league last year.
Yeah, this is a very good defensive team. We touched on it before. They got good defenders pretty much in their starting lineup at every position. Mm-hmm. So definitely a team to catch on League Pass. And then on to our favorite, the truth. Our emoji for the Jazz is going to be the Z's. Everybody's sleeping on this team.
Yes.
They're not given the credit they deserve. They haven't watched this team develop, but I think we're looking at a big season for the Jazz.
Absolutely. And to touch on the segment that I like to do, the national TV spotlight, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, the 11 or 12, 13. There's like 16, 17. The NBA is not sleeping. I mean, people might be, but they got some ESPN, ABC games. I think people understand that this team is for real.
And it's well-deserved. So
yes, absolutely.
That wraps it up for the Jazz, though. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for listening. Give us your feedback. Subscribe to us on YouTube, comment section, everything. Great show, Harris, and see you next show.
All right, guys. Yeah, looking forward to it again. Thank you to everybody supporting this cause and OTG moving in the right direction also. And Team 11 coming up. So we're excited to kind of get down to the home stretch here and getting you ready for the 2016-17 NBA season.